Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for this special Just for Kids presentation. I'm Amy Lynn. Tonight, we join together as a community to fight child abuse, to raise awareness, to protect our children. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and tonight we want to shine a light on child abuse awareness and why it's so important to everyone to recognize the signs of abuse. We do have a call-in line. If you have questions you would like answered by our local experts, you can call the number right here on your screen. We may ask your question live on the air. We want to begin by introducing our special guest tonight. We have Dawn Smith, a SANE nurse with Ballad Health. We also have Amanda Yarber, a pediatric trauma and performance improvement coordinator, also with Ballad Health. And ladies, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about, of course, this is the last day of April, April being Child Abuse Prevention Month and Awareness Month. Such an important time to really raise awareness. So we want to start there. Why is that awareness of child abuse so important in our community?
Well, it is very prevalent in all parts of the country, but it is here in our hometown as well. It does happen to all children and from all socioeconomic backgrounds, different geological locations. I think the only way that we can prevent it is by making people more aware of it. So the more that we make people aware of the signs to look for, that's the only way that we can prevent it.
So having that knowledge is so powerful.
It is, and I think one of the things to keep in mind is a lot of times, you know, the child abuse is going on and nobody is aware of it, or if they are aware of it, they're not reporting it. And it's so important just to report, you know, any concerns so that this comes to light.
And you guys see this every day, unfortunately, in your jobs. You meet these children, you see the families, you know the families. Tell me what a SANE nurse is. It's S-A-N-E, SANE nurse.
So S-A-N-E stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner, and we provide sexual assault services to people who are presenting with that complaint. And so we can go to the various emergency departments and bring that care to the patient so that the patient will not have to drive outside of their service area for a lot of these services.
And I would imagine you talk about the specialized training and the experience that you have to be able to handle these different cases.
Yeah, there's a lot of training that is involved in that. We have a partnership with ETSU. They have a HRSA grant, and the training just to get to become a SANE nurse is 40 hours, so on top of already being a registered nurse. And so once you take that 40 hours of training, there's also a 2-day clinical skills lab where you sort of hone in some of those interviewing techniques and how to do examinations, and then there's shadow opportunities to actually go with another trained nurse and to see how the exams are done. And so we're trying to staff these nurses throughout ERs in all of Ballad.
And Amanda, I know you two have a longer title, Pediatric Trauma and Performance Improvement Coordinator.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So with the pediatric trauma part, that is all physical types of trauma, whether it's injury from an accident, and child abuse does fall under that umbrella. My job, I do a lot of chart audits and trying to see where some of our gaps may lie and how we can make the best care for our patients. And I also do a lot of outreach education. So I go to all of the Ballad EDs and we do pediatric education. A lot of times it could be what to look for in child abuse. It could be how that ER can respond to a child in an emergency situation. But I think we've had really good feedback about the work that we're doing in all of the Ballad EDs, because children go to every ED. They don't go just to pediatric ERs.
And it seems like the good news here is that there is a team approach. Our community has really said, this is happening. What can we do? Who can play these parts? How can we pull people together? In fact, you recently had a symposium. Tell me about this.
Yeah, our symposium was beginning of this month, and we had a wonderful turnout. It was geared towards community members. So whether that's childcare workers or teachers, counselors, coaches, these are people that are with children a lot more than we are, because once the child comes to us, they have already had the abuse. So if we can make people aware before it happens and look at those signs and be able to report it. Dawn was one of the speakers, and we just had such a great turnout, and so people are becoming more aware that this is needed.
And it sounds like this was really on the front line for those people that may be able to catch it.
It was a lot of education as to how do you prevent and things to look out for and signs and symptoms, things to be concerned about. And, you know, like she said, a lot of the multidisciplinary team members that are so important in these meetings and these conversations around children. I felt like everybody had a really good representation and at the table for the symposium.
Because there are things as a community that we can be doing and things to watch out for. What are some of those signs that you tell people, be aware if you're with kids, if you teach Sunday school, or if you're a coach, or if you're a teacher?
So for the physical signs, we call it the 10-4. So if they have some bruises to their torso, ears, neck, those are places that kids don't normally bruise. And then that would be any child under the age of 4. And then any child under the age of 4 months that has any bruise, we like to say kids that don't cruise rarely bruise. So if they're not crawling around or, you know, bumping into stuff, they really should not have bruises on them. So those are some of the physical signs. Now, emotional signs for some of our older children, that could be a sudden withdrawal in activity, maybe some depression. So that could be some things that teachers can look for as well.
Okay, so a lot of things, and I think one of the things that makes it really hard is you don't want to be wrong. So what do you do if you start to see and think this could be happening?
I think one of the biggest things to remember is that in Tennessee, everybody is a mandated reporter, and so it doesn't matter who you are. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is you don't need to have proof that something happened, you just need a suspicion. And then when you call the hotline, they're going to refer it to somebody local, and it's going to be their job to investigate and find out what's been going on. I know some of the things that I see, you can have like a change in behavior, a change in attitude, withdrawal from school, trouble at school are very common things. You can see, you know, maybe a child is saying that they're feeling sick and they don't want to go to school. They're trying to avoid those certain situations. And then especially with long-term abuse, like long-term stomach issues, like always feeling nauseous and having stomach pain, just from all of, like she had mentioned, the emotional stress that is coming through as a physical sign, are other things that you can see as well.
And you guys mentioned that you do see this. Do you know sort of where we are? I mean, in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, I know we deal a lot with the, you know, Children's Advocacy Center and the court-appointed special advocates and a lot of these organizations saying that this is really a problem in our area.
Yeah, we see it in every county in our area. Like I said, every socioeconomic class. So it does not have to be someone that gives you, you know, weird vibes, but it is prevalent in every county in your hometown. It is prevalent.
And you're seeing those numbers as well?
Yeah, we as sexual assault nurse examiners, we participate in a lot of multidisciplinary team meetings, and one of those meetings that we do in all of the counties that we service are child protection teams. And I know that, you know, we have just multiple cases every single month that we're going through, whether we're doing investigations or we're saying it did happen or it didn't happen. So there's a lot of investigating going on as far as, you know, physical abuse and sexual abuse and drug exposure, things like that.
All right, well, certainly an important topic here tonight and some special guests to take your questions if you have them. You can call that number that is right there on your screen. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of this special Just for Kids presentation coming up here in just a few minutes.
Some see a burn victim, diabetes, leukemia. Some see neurofibromatosis. We see a farmer, a fashion designer, an actress, a firefighter. Niswonger Children's Network, where hope rises.
You can't pick when you get sick, like in the middle of the night, but with Ballad Health Medical Associates Virtual Urgent Care, you can choose to get care from home, in your PJs. No driving, no waiting room. Choose one of 2 easy virtual options. With online quick care, answer questions online and get a response within an hour. Virtual Urgent Care lets you visit by video with a provider face-to-face. Just make an appointment online, even at night. For more details, go to balladhealth.org/telehealth.
What does it mean to have a trauma network in the Appalachian Highlands? It means trauma care starts the second you connect with medical personnel after injury, not just when you get to a dedicated trauma center. It means that through a community partnership between Ballad Health, local EMS, specialized trauma doctors, and ETSU's Quillen College of Medicine, we are all working together to save lives and limbs. It means that no matter where you live, if you're hurt, we'll get you to the right place at the right time for the right care.
Welcome back to our special Just for Kids presentation tonight. Once again, we are talking about child abuse and, more importantly, what can we do to come together as a community to help our children. If you have questions for our experts, you can call that number there on your screen, 1-888-903-9545. We want to once again introduce our guests tonight. We have Dawn Smith and Amanda Yarber, both with Ballad Health, who specialize in trauma care and working with children, especially when there is some suspected abuse. And we were talking a little bit about some of the definitions and some of the types of child abuse. Tell me a little bit about the effects of child abuse. Obviously, we know there's that physical, but then some of that can really turn into that long-term effect as well.
Yeah, and so you have to remember that any sort of abuse, no matter what type it is a trauma in that child's life, and also a trauma in that family's life. And it's something that everybody is going to have to deal with and process. And you know, you can have a lot of emotional baggage that this child can have to work through, and the family as well, because unfortunately in child abuse, everybody's impacted. It's not just the child, and so trying to get them to work through it so that they don't have long-term emotional issues, which can later turn into long-term health disparities later.
It is a process, I would imagine, but it does seem like, as we just saw, there are a lot of people that can help these children and help these families.
Yeah, absolutely. There are the child advocacy centers, and they are in every county. So if you have any questions, they are such a wonderful resource for the community to answer any questions. And they help a lot with getting into therapy, family therapy, child therapy. They are just a wonderful organization.
And you talked a little bit about what happens after that first appointment and then starting that process. I would imagine there's almost a team approach coming into something like that.
There is, because we have to work collaboratively with law enforcement, with the children's advocacy centers, with DCS, and so we work with all of these entities, and then when we come together, at these meetings, it's a complete team approach. And so we have a discussion of, what is it that you need? What resources does this child need? Is there something that they need that they're not getting? And we work together to try to create that best plan of care for the child.
And then talk to us a little bit about neglect. We talk a lot about physical abuse. We talk about sexual and emotional abuse. What kinds of cases do we see when it comes to neglect maybe in our area?
So that could be neglect from not having the child have food, clothing, bathing them, but also that love and neglect. And all of those can definitely impact a child for the rest of their life. There's certain stages of development, and if a child doesn't receive that love and trust, they will be behind developmentally, educationally. They might have trouble in the workforce in the future, and so it is not just a temporary one time during their childhood. It will affect them the rest of their life.
Do you oftentimes see abuse coming together in different forms, physical abuse, and then you find out more is happening?
You can often see overlap of different things, especially with children if they're very young, if they're not verbal, if they have an intellectual disability. You can have a child present because, a bruise on your cheek is something you can see, but these other two, might be things that we can't see. And so it's always good, to check all the boxes, and that's why DCS is involved, because they're the ones that are going to do the investigation. Does the child have the food that they need? Is there power at the house? And it's not always intentional. It's not like the parents are like, I don't want to keep the lights on. Sometimes it's just helping them to access services to get them what they need to help provide the care for their child.
And we do have some of those services. It seems like really people have sat down to say, how can we approach all of these different things that are happening in this child's life, in this family's life that they've experienced? And you were saying a lot of times it's generational.
It is. And a lot of times, at least in my practice, when I see pediatric patients, the parents are having concerns about their children because they experienced the exact same thing. And I've gotten disclosures from parents where they said, this exact same thing happened to me and I never told anybody. And I think that's where the conversation needs to change, is where, people are stepping up and we're making these disclosures and we're taking them seriously.
How do you guys get into other communities? You were telling me a little bit about the network and some of the things that you're doing to make sure these are in place. Like you said, they don't just come to one ER.
Yeah, so we go out to every ED. Dawn's team has made sure that there are multiple SANE nurses trained at a lot of the Ballad EDs. And then we also have a child abuse task force that we have people from CACs, from DCS, pediatricians in the area, and we meet to go over a lot of statistics and what we can do better in our communities. And that's from the Southwest Virginia and the Tennessee side. So there are a lot of things in place that we are constantly striving to try to make things better.
Seems like we're definitely going in the right direction. Are we starting to see sort of the fruits of our labor yet, like putting all these people in place? Are we starting to see that at least now we're catching a lot of this maybe?
I think when we started tracking it, maybe the numbers went up, and maybe Amanda can speak to that more. I know that April it's Child Abuse Awareness Month, but it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so all of the team, because there are several full-time SANEs, we rounded at every single Ballad Health facility in Tennessee and Virginia to make sure that staff knew what to do if somebody presented, how do you handle these cases, how do you treat these patients, and just really key things to know when these patients present to the emergency department.
Yeah, and if we do see some numbers go up, I think it is more, it's not that people are hurting children more, it's that we have more awareness of it, so we are reporting it. And we can't make changes if we don't have the reports or if we don't have the data. So an increase is not necessarily a bad thing, it's that it's becoming more aware.
That is some good news. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with more of our special Just for Kids presentation coming up here in just a few minutes. Again, if you do have questions, I do hear our phones ringing. You can call that number right there on your screen. We'll be right back.
You can't pick when you get sick, like in the middle of the night, but with Ballad Health Medical Associates Virtual Urgent Care, you can choose to get care from home, in your PJs. No driving, no waiting room. Choose one of 2 easy virtual options. With online quick care, answer questions online and get a response within an hour. Virtual Urgent Care lets you visit by video with a provider face-to-face. Just make an appointment online, even at night. For more details, go to balladhealth.org/telehealth.
What does it mean to have a trauma network in the Appalachian Highlands? It means trauma care starts the second you connect with medical personnel after injury, not just when you get to a dedicated trauma center. It means that through a community partnership between Ballad Health, local EMS, specialized trauma doctors, and ETSU's Quillen College of Medicine, we are all working together to save lives and limbs. It means that no matter where you live, if you're hurt, we'll get you to the right place at the right time for the right care.
Some see a burn victim, diabetes, leukemia. Some see neurofibromatosis. We see a farmer, a fashion designer, an actress, a firefighter. Niswonger Children's Network, where hope rises.
Welcome back to our special presentation tonight, raising awareness of child abuse and how we are coming together as a community for a better tomorrow for our children. We have Dawn Smith and Amanda Yarber joining us this evening, both from the Ballad Health team, working with children, working with these families every day. We want to go back. We talked a little bit about the symposium that you guys held, and I understand it is going to be an annual event now.
Yes, we have a meeting coming up to start planning for our next one, because we sold out of our tickets. We had over 200 people come, and so we had really great responses. So we're excited to just make it an annual.
Which is such a great opportunity for people that are in the lives of children to find out that they do indeed play a role. One of the things that you guys talked about is a term that maybe people have heard once or twice. We're going to talk a little bit about it, sextortion.
Yes. So sextortion is essentially where a child will generate either a photo or video of themselves, and they will be conned into sending it to a third party. Sometimes they think they know that person, but most of the time it's somebody who's pretending to be somebody else, and they want one of three things. They either want money, and they have been, it's been increasing where young adolescent boys are, you know, they're getting sextorted, and they are sending large amounts of money to these people, and sometimes they're overseas. So money is one of the things. Sometimes they want additional photos. So they tell a child, like, I have this photo of you that's very incriminating. I want you to take more photos of yourself. And the child's scared. It's a child, and so, you know, they go ahead and they generate that additional material just out of fear. And then another thing, and we've actually had a couple cases of this in our community, is they want to meet the child for sexual purposes, and it's very debilitating for the child, because they feel like they're stuck in a situation that they don't know how to get out of. And so it was really just a lot of us providing information for the community about, you know, trying to educate children, because children have cell phones at such young ages now. I mean, there was a research that said that children as young as, you know, 5 and 6 own their own cell phones. And if us as parents and caregivers, if we're not providing the education that they need about the dangers that are out there, you know, it creates a lot of problems, and it sets the stage for a lot of bad things to happen. And one of our law enforcement partners who had come, he said, you know, when the internet was created, it was amazing and it was great and there were so many good things, but every time you have something that's great that's created, you have other people who use it for other bad purposes, and that's what we're seeing now. And so I think just the education of that, talking to children about internet safety, talking about what to post and what not to post, all of those conversations are super important, not only for parents but also for, you know, people who work in those child disciplines.
And I can see how uncomfortable that would be to get started, but yet how important, because it's happening, and I've heard it on a national level, but to hear that it's happening in our own community with our own children is certainly very scary.
And it's not always recognized as that, but when you hear, you know, photos and money being exchanged, that's essentially sextortion. So it's not always recognized for what it is, but essentially that's what it is. So.
And scared to death.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take one more break. We're going to come back and wrap up the show here in just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Some see a burn victim. Diabetes, leukemia. Some see neurofibromatosis. We see a farmer, a fashion designer, an actress, a firefighter. Niswonger Children's Network, where hope rises.
You can't pick when you get sick, like in the middle of the night, but with Ballad Health Medical Associates Virtual Urgent Care, you can choose to get care from home, in your PJs. No driving, no waiting room. Choose one of 2 easy virtual options. With online quick care, answer questions online and get a response within an hour. Virtual Urgent Care lets you visit by video with a provider face-to-face. Just make an appointment online, even at night. For more details, go to balladhealth.org/telehealth.
What does it mean to have a trauma network in the Appalachian Highlands? It means trauma care starts the second you connect with medical personnel after injury, not just when you get to a dedicated trauma center. It means that through a community partnership between Ballad Health, local EMS, specialized trauma doctors, and ETSU's Quillen College of Medicine, we are all working together to save lives and limbs. It means that no matter where you live, if you're hurt, we'll get you to the right place at the right time for the right care.
Well, certainly such an important topic. We have covered a lot of ground in the last 30 minutes as we raise awareness and talk about some really uncomfortable things, but that really need to be talked about to protect our children. Dawn and Amanda, we thank you so much for your time. Just some last minute information again to kind of reiterate and get that important message across to not only family members, but people that are in touch with children on a daily basis. We'll start with you.
I think the biggest thing is don't be scared to make a call. If you have some type of suspicion, it's not your job to do the investigation. It's your job just to make the call. If I am wrong about a suspicion that I have, then I'm glad that I'm wrong. I don't want to have a child fall through the cracks. So that would be my biggest takeaway is if you have a suspicion, go ahead and make that call. And there's a lot of resources out there to see the different signs if you're worried about them.
All right, very important. And I like how you said you are mandated to do so.
You are.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest things to remember is finding that person that your child feels comfortable to talk to, whether that is you as a parent or whether it is your spouse or your significant other, if there's a coach or if there's somebody at school, you know, who is this safe person that you can tell anything to, and identify that. And then just, you know, keep in mind that if your child comes to you and they are telling you something, the best thing to do is stay calm, because children really pick up on that emotional feedback, and if we start panicking as parents, they're going to start panicking too. So be that safe person for the child. Let them tell you whatever they need to tell you, or ask questions, because keeping that open relationship and that open line of communication, they're going to start coming to you when serious things start happening. If they start getting older, you know, and different things, different situations start happening. So be that safe person, and just give them that safe space where they can come to you and approach you and talk about all of those really important things, because, you know, they look up to us. We're grown-ups and we're the ones with the experience.
And we need to protect them.
We do.
Wonderful. Dawn, thank you so much. Amanda, thank you very
you.
much. If you would like more information, you can always check out the website balladhealth.org. Lots of links to other information. Have a great evening.